He was a boy with a broken arm in a Georgian village who became the man responsible for more deaths than Hitler. To some, he was the father of Soviet Union. To others, a tyrant, a god, a ghost in archives. This is not a story about power. It is a story about how power devours everything, even the man who holds it. Welcome to the life of Joseph Stalin, the Red Tsar of 20th century. He didn't speak Russian until he was a teenager. He robbed banks before he ruled a nation. Who was this man who ruled one-sixth of Earth with an iron fist and a trembling heart? He was born in Gori, Georgia in 1878 as Joseph Jokshvili. His father, Bessarion, was a violent alcoholic cobbler who beat him and his mother, sometimes brutally. His mother, Kitavan Glaze, was a deeply religious woman who dreamed of him becoming a priest. She was controlling yet his only support. The family was extremely poor, often living on one-room homes or relying on charity. At the age of 7, he suffered smallpox, left his face in ugly conditions. At the age of 12, his arm was permanently damaged in a carriage accident. He learned early that violence equals power, that love was conditional and betrayal was survival. Psychologically, this brewed deep insecurities, mistrust, and need to dominate before get dominated. At the age of 15, Stalin entered the Tiflis Theological Seminary, one of the most conservative Orthodox institutions in the Russian Empire. This place was strict, authoritarian, and obsessed with control, ironically mirroring the regime he would later create. He was beaten for minor mistakes, forbidden from reading non-religious books, and monitored consistently. Young Stalin secretly read Darwin, Marx, and forbidden revolutionary texts. At age of 19, he completely rejected religion and termed seminary a prison and priest a jailer. The seminary influenced his ideologies and how religion could brainwash and dominate people. He realized that obedience could be engineered not just through faith but through fear. The seminary didn't tame Stalin, it taught him how to create his own religion, Stalinism. His real name was Joseph Jokshvili. He started using revolutionary aliases to hide from the Tsarian secret police. Around 1912, he adopted Stalin as his nom de guerre. The name was a powerful move, a way to craft a persona that was strong, unremarkable, and fearsome. Stalin means steel, symbolizing strength, resilience, and the industrial future he wanted for Russia. He was a quiet hustler. Stalin was not the flashy orator like Trotsky or the intellectual like Bukharin. He was more of a behind the scene operator, mastering the underground organizations, banks, robberies, smuggling weapon, and running Bolshevik cell. He was a party machine boss. He cleverly got himself appointed general secretary of Communist Party in 1922. A seemingly boring admin job, but this role gave him control over party membership, promotions, and appointments. In a nutshell, he became the gatekeeper of power. Stalin played his rivals against each other. Trotsky was brilliant but arrogant and isolated. Zinoviev and Kamenev were indecisive. Stalin built alliances, then betrayed and crushed them one by one. During Lenin's illness and eventual death, Stalin maneuvered quickly to keep himself close to the center of power. Before the death of Lenin, he wrote a private document assessing top Bolshevik leaders. He warned about Stalin's rudeness and concentration of power. So Lenin definitely did not endorse Stalin as his successor outright. Lenin's health declined rapidly after 1922. He wasn't fully in control during his last month. He could not make a clear public appearance. After Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin and his allies buried Lenin's testaments to avoid damage to Stalin's reputation. Then, who was Lenin's preferred successor? Well, many historians believe Lenin's favorite regime was a collective leadership, leaned more towards Trotsky, his brilliant orator and military strategist. Old Bolsheviks like Zinoviev, Kamenev, Bukharin, people who know Lenin personally, posted a threat to Stalin's version of history. He wanted to rewrite the revolution with himself as the only hero. Stalin was not content with the loyalty he wanted. He wanted absolute submission. So Purge was a warning shot. No one is safe, not even the loyals. But this fear became the state's most efficient weapon. He purged over half the Red Army officers' corps, including Marshal Tukhetsky, because he feared a military coup. So he decapitated the army to keep it loyal. Ironically, he crippled the USSR before World War II started. With Purge, Stalin executed the old elites. He cleared space for the new generation of leaders whose entire careers depend on him. They owed Stalin everything. Loyalty was not an option, it was for survival. Stalin started a series of centrally planned economic goals launched by Stalin to rapidly industrialize the USSR and transform it from a poor agrarian society into a global superpower. The first plan started in 1928 and it was a wild ride. Main goals of first 5-year plans were rapid industrialization, build heavy industries, steel, coal, machinery, railways, create massive factories practically overnight. These small farmers into state-run collective farms. Idea was to feed the cities and export grain to fund industrial growth. Reality was famine, chaos, and resistance, especially in Ukraine. Achievements USSR became major industrial power in under a decade, built thousands of factories, dams, railroads, and cities. Illiteracy dropped and scientific advancement surged. But all this came at a crashing human cost. Forced labor, starvation, and executions. Productivity rose, but freedom and the lives were buried beneath home stack. As peasants were forced off their lands seized for export, estimated 3 to 7 million people starved to death. Over 18 million people were put in forced labor camps. Prisoners built roads, rails, canals, cities working in Arctic cold, malnutrition and beaten. Survival rate was not that great. Sometimes entire factories were executed for production delays. Whole ethnic groups, Chechens, Tatars, Ukrainians, were forcibly relocated. Final death toll estimated in 1928 to 1941 were 10 to 20 million deaths, unconscious among historians, and forward a fast steel output, a few extra trainers. He didn't just rule the Soviet Union, he engineered it brick by brick, grave by grave, in his own ruthless image. The question is not whether Stalin was a genius or a monster, it is whether the progress justified the price of humanity, and yet his story does not end here. The Rise of Stalin Part 1 is complete, Part 2, The Purges, Wars, and Aftermath is coming soon.